Hey YouTube, Jonathan here, and I wanted to wrap up my Axis and Allies 1942 Second Edition web series by focusing on the Axis powers, not looking at one country or the other, but just considering the overall strategy, what they might do. Now, the Axis powers, unlike the Allies, do not have their production and their military might split three ways. They only have it split two ways. And unlike the UK and United States, the two Axis powers, Germany and Japan, while they do need to work together and focus on a unifying strategy, they don't need to coordinate their units quite as closely as the US and the UK do. They do want to focus on an overarching strategic goal, though. So let's look at these two countries. You've got Germany over here. Germany, if you have grand ideas of invading the United States as Germany, you should probably set those to the side. That unless you are facing opponents who are entirely incompetent, or you've played, I don't know, 15 rounds and the map looks incredibly different, maybe that has a chance. But in any standard game, that's just not going to happen. Now, you could also go after England, and I've seen a few strategies, read about a few strategies as well, trying to do Operation Sea Lion, and you may be able to pull that off, but again, if England is even halfway paying attention to what's going on, probably not going to happen. You're going to be focusing on Russia, or on the Soviet Union. Now, you'll want to get into Africa while you can, or where you can, putting pressure down in India, which helps Japan. There's that coordination I was talking about before. But your focus is going to be eastward, here and here, with a little bit down this way. Now, as Japan, you can either go this way or you can go that way. Now, if the United States is causing you problems or is building up, yes, you are going to have to devote more resources over here. But in terms of a strategy to win the game, if Germany is focusing on the Soviet Union, your priority should be pressuring them from the other side, causing them to collapse as quickly as possible, which means your best option is going to be to go in along here. Now, that doesn't mean that we leave this southern flank undefended, or that we don't pay attention to it. We do want to move in here around the same time that we're moving up. We want to move all across the front, wherever possible. Now, you may have a turn where the only prudent move is to go into China, or to go up north, or down south, or maybe two of the three. Maybe you can't move all three at the same time, and that's fine. But your goal, as long as you can hold the US at bay, is to focus on moving into Asia as quickly as possible. Now, depending on how much attention you get from the US, if they aren't focusing on you that much, always keep in mind moving down here to Australia to get a couple extra production, moving some sort of a fleet with transports down this way. You can get in on the African action as well, either joining Germany or retaking Africa if the Allies took it. That'll force them to devote more resources down here and fewer resources drilling into Germany itself. So those are what I see as the main areas where the Axis powers need to coordinate, trying to take out the Soviet Union as quickly as possible, and then trying to meet somewhere in Africa or coordinate their efforts in Africa. Usually that'll be a few turns in, and the Allies may have started taking it back from Germany, but when they think they're good there, when Japan sweeps in and starts taking stuff, that's fine. That pulls troops that would go against Germany up here, it pulls them out. Now they have to go to Africa. It pulls troops, either Soviet troops or Allied troops that are reinforcing the Soviet Union, now have to pull down here because of Japan. So when it comes to their coordination, it's really at a much higher level. Here's the theater that I'm going to focus on. Here I'll move some troops down here to Africa, or I'll do this or I'll do that, either as Germany or Japan. rather than, sharing the same space with units. Maybe there will be a time for that. Something that I have seen be effective in some other versions, specifically talking about Axis and Allies Revised, but I think it would hold true in this version as well, is to have Germany and Japan's forces meet somewhere down here, so that even if one of them doesn't have the forces to take Moscow, between the two of them on the defensive side, there's no way the Allies can take it back, and then they can just rebuild as they need to. Iran is also a good spot for that because it touches both of these territories. Now the Soviets and the Allies have to defend both of them, while Japan builds up here. Maybe Germany already has the Caucasus. It just, with the factory, it just depends. But there is no reason, unless Berlin or Tokyo are threatened, that you need to attack Moscow in a risky fashion. Now, you do always want to be aware of what else is going on, in other theaters. But if you have a 30% chance of succeeding in an attack on Moscow, and you are free to continue building up for another turn or two, typically the Soviets are not going to have a whole lot of production. You'll be able to outproduce them either as Germany or as Japan, and it can be good to build up a little bit more until you have more of a one-sided battle on your hands. Now, of course, if things are looking a little more stressful, either for Germany or Japan, you might want to consider rushing that, but just be aware, even when you're coordinating, consider what the map will look like if, let's say, Germany has a bunch of units in Caucasus, but minimal forces in this area here because it has a lot pulled back this way, and it's just trading spaces up in this area with England, or maybe the United States down here, or something like that. It doesn't have a whole lot on the front. What's going to happen if you attack Moscow and fail? You can get 4 more units here, and maybe if the Russians can't produce a whole lot, then that's fine. Maybe if Japan is coming in from this way, that's fine too. But just be aware, if it looks like it's going to be a close battle, and you don't need to attack, do you want to attack? What's the world going to look like in this theater if you don't? That's an important thing to consider. So that is what I would do. Just some general strategies I'd keep in mind when playing the Axis Powers in Axis and Allies 1942 2nd edition. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments or strategies you'd like me to look into, or overarching ideas that I did not cover here, please leave them in the comments. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. I hope that this video will help improve your game, and if you have any thoughts on how I might improve mine, I'd be very interested to hear those, and I hope you enjoyed this video.